Welcome to the new YEA podcast. We are welcoming you and the world into a unique YEA adventure, and here is a thought to launch our own journey.
We talked, we posted, we shared, we listened, we spoke about many relevant topics, we organized events, we made friends, connections, and met a lot of role models. We managed to connect Western Balkans and the EU in a relationship that will probably stay forever, united in diversity. We still are unable to really get out there, but we have designed something completely new and fresh for you. Our Western Balkan podcast will be launched in this May. However, as a special intro and a gift from all of us, yes, who were eager to jump into this new adventure, we proudly present you our pilot episode, Coffee with Yes, and we hope you share it on social media. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first podcast episode. And my name is Stefan Vukmanovic, and I will be your first host. I'm doing just awesome. I'm super excited that we're doing this, and I hope that people who are listening to us will enjoy this as well. So, like, you're the managing director at the EU40, right? Can you tell us more about the platform? What is it about, and how did you get to where you are? Like, how do you think politics, activism at a young age shaped you and helped shape others, helped shape you, shape others, you know?
No, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I hope that today I have nothing to teach at all, but maybe, you know, some people from different experiences can get ideas, can get, you know, some inspirations. I can do something that is meaningful for them. So I hope that by sharing my experience today, you can see that maybe you will like to do something similar, or you might not want to do anything similar to this. It's also a possibility. To answer to your question, EU40 is the network of young members of the European Parliament. So it represents young elected officials at the European Parliament under the age of 40. The youngest member of the European Parliament as of now is 21 years old. So roughly your age. It's quite a young age to be engaged. And you know, I love to work for EU40 because obviously the goal and the idea behind the network is that there are some generational issues that we need to tackle, like climate change, like democracy, like gender equality. And those issues are important and they go cross-partisan. So it doesn't matter whether you're a green, a conservative, a social democrat, those are important for young people. And this is the reason why EU40 manages to put together MEPs that work together. And then we put them together with the industry, with the other institutions, with the European Commission, with the civil society, because we need to tackle those generational issues. And this is a bit how I got into this. When I was about 15, 18, I was looking around me and, you know, I saw that there were some things that were absolutely amazing, but there were also some things that for me as a young person back then were not fair, were not right. And so you have two options when something is not fair and right. Either you sit down and complain, or you stand up and try to do your bit and try to do something. And that is how I enter into the activism world.
How did that feel like? You know, how does it feel to be an editor, which is a really high position in a web magazine at that age? This was at the time when you were a student, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, that's correct, Stefan. Probably you put it in a nicer light than it really was, but that is absolutely fine in the sense that you know, there are many ways to be an activist, but everything up to me starts by the idea, and especially young people have this opportunity. You know, we have everything at the tip of our fingers nowadays, with phone, with social media, with internet. So we have a lot of information, and the most important people for young people is to be informed. And so how to be informed? So I had this incredible passion for politics and how young people responded to politics. And this is the reason why I was talking with a couple of friends and I was studying that at the university. And all of a sudden I found myself with this idea of, you know, trying to share a bit what I was studying. Of course, without the idea of teaching anyone, because I have, again, nothing to teach, but with the idea of, you know, like giving my perspective on the work. And so, for example, I worked for these two web magazines, rather relatively small, but still they were by young people for young people. And I was writing about how politics and young people were putting themselves together, like, you know, how young people vote, preference behaviors, and what is interesting when you talk about politics, which is to know a lot about it. And that was you know, the start. Of course, it was a great experience, even though it was relatively small. I was still a student, etc. But, you know, it's something that really made me start the networking feeling. It made me start the idea that, you know, together with others, we can reach meaningful change, because by ourselves, everything is very, very complicated. Everything seems a big mountain, but when you work with others, they contaminate you with their ideas, with their energy, with their activism, and then amazing projects come to life.
So basically, networking is the most important part of activism. So, you know, you worked at many places as a volunteer or as an activist, including this magazine and many different organizations. What do you think about volunteering? Is it meaningful? Could you make possibly new connections that could help you grow as a person, or that could help your cause grow even more?
Look, Stefan, volunteering is a thing that changes your life. And there are a varieties of ways on how you can volunteer. You can help your neighbors, you can help young people, you can help less fortunate, let's say. You can really do whatever you want. I've always found interesting the idea of trying to better the world around me in my small capacity for young people. Because in the European Union, I will give you these statistics. In the European Union, 1 out of 3 citizens is below the age of 30. So more than 100 million in the EU 27 states are young people below the age of 30. And this number goes higher when you look at the world. 1 out of 2 citizens of the world is below the age of 30. So obviously, young people held the future, but also held the present. And so it was important for me, you know, to try to make it better for myself and for the people that are around me. And of course, when you start with this idea, then you find other peoples that are around you. So clearly, volunteering was a big part of my life. I've met amazing people. I went on a volunteering mission in South Africa. I went to India. I went to Thailand, and I brought with me like a bunch of young people, a bit younger than me, from Italy, Spain, Belgium.
So when we talk about the new values that young people bring, I believe cosmopolitan values are the most important ones, just like the young European ambassadors quote or motto, united through diversity. This is one of the most important factors. And do you think that young people are truly influencing the world right now to connect? To, you know, to unite into truly something beautiful?
No, absolutely, Stefan. And you see, of course, each and every one of us is different. You know, I'm Italian. I'm originally Italian, but when I was 20, I moved away and I lived in 6 different countries in Europe and in North America. And, you know, I realized how different we are, but I also realized how similar we are. And when you talk about young people, you even see it, you go farther. We all have the same dreams. We all have the same goals in lives. And we all see life, maybe not in the same way, but with a lot of really concrete points. And you see it in the Balkans. You know, like I consider the Balkans really, really, really close to my culture because I'm Southern European. And so we have a lot of common values and common goals. So of course, United in Diversity is a fantastic slogan. And of course, we as young people have the power to actually show how we are united in diversity, how much we can cooperate and collaborate. And this is the lessons learned in the past 70 years after World War II is, you know, working together makes a difference. Let's all work together to make it better.
Yes, especially in Europe. Europe has shown everybody a really good picture of how one's enemies can become now the best partners, and how they can together, but only together, bring the world to a new tomorrow, we could say. And also, like, do you think that young people, because of our flexibility, or maybe because of our similarities, that we usually get through any problems much faster than the older people, in a sense where we find it more easy to connect with each other because of the social media, because of these new tools? And like, how do you think social media affected the whole young people's sphere of influence, where we now are able to connect even more?
No, absolutely. That's a very valid point. So look, we live in a world where we are in hyper connection. Everything is at the tip of our fingers. We're all one call away. I live 1,000 kilometers from my hometown, and yet I managed to call my grandmother and see her through phone, through social media, etc. So that's obviously like a fantastic opportunities and ability. Then, of course, it comes with responsibility, as always. And so if you look at it from this point of view of an active citizen, it is important for active citizens to use these tools in the right way, because a tool is not good or bad per se. It's the way that you use it that defines the scope of it. And so, you know, like, I think we have two responsibilities. On one side, of course, we have the opportunity to really reach people that are out of our own bubble. And that is what is really, really important. When we want to change the world, or try to change the world, let's put it better, we need to convince others that do not think it, that, for example, climate change is important. We need to convince them that it is important, and the reason why. And here, social media is a tool. And then on the other side, we also need to be careful, because of course, when you talk about social media, we have a lot of fake news. So we have a social responsibility there, to make sure that we also filter those that are fake news, because we are all the maker of our own destiny. So of course, if we do not pay attention, that can be a double-edged sword. But let's say that I'm very, very positive, and I find, the opportunity to talk to young activists. You know, like, you're in Montenegro, I assume, I'm in Brussels, and yet we managed to have this fantastic conversation right now. We couldn't have it without social media, without internet, and of course, this is the beauty of the world we live in.
Like, you managed to get to a position where people take you seriously, where people really know that you can make a change, a meaningful change to our everyday lives. So what do you think? Are people considering young people serious enough? And do they think that we can actually make a difference? Is being an activist actually beneficial enough? Or should we try to do more and be more directly involved in the influencing of policy making and connecting things with it?
Yeah, look, Stefan, I don't know if they take me seriously, let's put it this way, but I feel very, very lucky to be in a position where I can talk to important people and try to advocate for youth rights, environmental rights, digital rights. So whether they take me seriously or not, we will see it in a couple of years when real change will have to happen. But definitely, I feel extremely lucky to be in that position. And the reason why I feel extremely lucky is because I feel a bit, also the responsibility. It's an honor, but also a bit of a duty, to make use of what life gives you, to advocate for good things. Overall, I would tell you that, yes, I see the youth having an important responsibility, an important honor, because nowadays we are really taking much more into consideration than in the previous years, but also responsibility, because now with this in our hands, we really need to make it happen. We need to make change happen. What I would say to answer to your question is, as youth, we need to find as much as possible the spaces where we can discuss. And I was talking at the last year, I had the great honor to represent the European youth at the G20 in Saudi Arabia. And talking with a good friend, Vanari from the United States, she said something that was very, very interesting for me. And she told me, Alessandro, you know what? I live by this mantra, which is, if there is no seat at the table, I bring my own folding chair. Well, that's fantastic. That I really quote her and I say, let's find a seat at the table. If there is not a seat at the table, let's bring it ourselves, the chair.
Like I have seen when I researched about you that you were once an election observer. So I wanted to connect with that. What do you think? Do you young people get out and vote? How is it important for the overall democracy building and democratization of one's society? And why do you think young people are sometimes discouraged from voting? Is it supposed to be the biggest tool or rather an asset of a person? Like one's vote is the biggest weapon you could have.
Absolutely, absolutely. I personally, I wouldn't call it weapon, but I would definitely call it an asset. That is definitely the entire point. So look, I believe that by realizing that everything around us is politics and is political, and that politics shapes everything in our lives, from the healthcare system to the education system to the environment where we live, the food that we eat, everything around us is political and is politics. And whether we like it or not, whether we are interested as citizens or not, politics is interested in us and will shape our lives. So by realizing this very, very first point, then it's crystal clear that voting is the most important thing. It doesn't matter what you vote, but it is important that you vote and you vote consciously. So it doesn't matter whether you want to vote right, left, etc. Then we can discuss, and every one of us has a different opinion, a personal opinion. But the most important thing is to be interested, because if you are not interested in politics, you will not change things. And according to my personal point of view, if you do not vote, you lose a bit the right to actually complain, because it means that you were not interested. And as we said earlier, if you want to change something, you can't sit and complain, but you need to stand up, take off the shirt, and start actually working, you know. So yes, I've been an observer. It was a fantastic opportunity, and I would suggest every young person to do it. It's a volunteering experience. There are organizations that do this. They bring you to the election sites, and then you spend a day in the polling station and you check that everything is done democratically. I went to Romania during the elections, the parliamentary elections back then, and I actually saw quite a few young people. Now, why are young people sometimes discouraged by politics? Well, because they believe, I have the feeling that you can't change politics. But to me, that is the wrong way to look at it. If you want to change politics, be active. The more you're active, the more your voice is going to be heard. And so this is the reason why at EU40, for example, we advocate for young people to run at the European election, at the national elections. We train young candidates to make sure that they have all the ammunition that they need in order to have a very good shot at winning the elections. And once they are elected, and this year we have quite a few in the European Parliament, below 40, for example, once they are elected, then they can get together and really make that meaningful change that we were talking about earlier.
And basically not to judge someone by his or her opinion, which is different from ours, but to listen to them and to truly try to see things from their perspective. That's why I wanted to point out as well, as you said, education is one of the most important tool sets that we have and that we need to implement even more. Basically, the more educated young people are, the better the world will look tomorrow.
No, absolutely. And, you know, just to pile up on this, Stefan, the entire point is that we don't need to think the same. But, you know, by expressing our opinion and by talking to each other, maybe you will convince me that your opinion is better. Maybe I will convince you that my arguments are more structured, or maybe we will both decide that neither of us is 100% right, and there is a way in between where we can advocate and work together. That is the beauty of life, and this is exactly why we need to listen to other people and not judge them for their opinion before we listen to them.
Yes, that's the point. Like, always be open to change your own opinion and always question yourself. The one that truly thinks is the one that usually always questions his decisions.
Absolutely.
And also, I wanted to connect this to other stuff. You're a part of a Cortina Digital Forum. What is this? Like, is it a kind of a social media? Is it a digital forum that connects people? What is it?
Yeah, look, this is also one example of how, young people can be involved, and how from an ideas you can actually create some change, then whether it is meaningful or the impact is always different. But so mainly what happened is that, as I mentioned to you, I look a bit around the world. I meet people that I love to meet people and to talk to people. And from meeting people, you actually bounce off ideas. You are also called in, and you discuss ways to make a difference around you. And this is what happened with the Cortina Digital Forum. It's a 2 days high-level conference, and I'm one of the co-founders together with Sandra and Riccardo. We met each other and we decided, okay, we are from the north part of Italy. We live in Brussels. We work also in digital areas. How can we bring a discussion that is truly European, but in an Italian context? And we can discuss with high-level politicians, with high-level people from the industry, but also talk to the citizens of our areas, which might think that Brussels is very far away. So the idea was really, like trying to combine all these different levels. And we had a fantastic event that just finished. It ended last week. And we discussed really with ministers, with civil society activists, with the industry, how digital can be a tool for everyone. And how digital can give opportunities to remote areas. Of course, there are challenges, but also opportunities, like when you talk about data, privacy, artificial intelligence, of course, we need to find the balance. Nothing is black or white. But, the most important thing that I take out of that discussion is how digital needs to become a human right, how connectivity is a human right. Without that, people, young and less young around the world, will not have the same opportunity.
That's going to help us prosper even more. That's going to help the world prosper even more. And now as well, environment plays the biggest role in our lives as well. Recently, we can see even more and more initiatives and pushes to be involved into the environment protection. How can we contribute? How can young people and older people even contribute to this new way of changing things?
Well, you see, Stefan, the youth, the global youth, had already had an incredible impact on the climate and environment discussion. If you consider then the Greta Thunberg effect, I mean, one young lady took the courage to sit down in front of her parliament, and nowadays we have millions and millions of young people all over the world that advocate for a meaningful change in the environmental policies from all the big countries. And this is the power of youth. Everything started because someone decided, okay, enough is enough. Let's now talk about the serious matters. And so now, again, I would go back to that point, though. This brings a great honor, but also a great responsibility. And, like quoting Marvel, great powers, great responsibilities. So, Spider-Man. So, of course, we have the attention of the world right now on young people. And we need to make sure that now we really double down and we start to do our part. So on one side, of course, we need to talk and we need to advocate. On the other side, we need to start actively being in politics to make sure that we are the one making policies that respect these kind of things. And on the third part, we also need to put ourselves where our mouth is. So if we say that we want, a sustainable future, we have to start recycling. If we state that we have to live a sustainable future, we need to eat less meat. We need to be more conscious about the environment. You know, like I'm not saying we need all to go vegan or stop using the car altogether. But I'm just saying, like, let's make sure that as individuals we make our part. And then, of course, there is the last bit, which is very important. We need also to keep people accountable. The European Union is leading on the energy and environmental transformation. Of course, we can become zero emitting, but if the rest of the world will continue in the path that it is, it's going to be like, you know, a drop in the ocean. So we need to make sure that we advocate it also at international level, also with other countries. And I will not cite anyone specifically, but, you know, like, let's make sure that everyone does his own part, because that's the most important part.
Yes, basically getting everybody involved in this is the most important part. And like, what do you think the future of our surroundings would look like? Do you see, like, in the future more smart cities, as you said, smart villages, which is actually a really awesome project? We would like to hear more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are two futures that I see in front of us. One is the future that I would like to see, and I have the feeling it's very similar to the future that you would like to see, Stefan, and many other young people would like to see. And then there is the reality, the future that will come. And we need to make sure that those two levels collide as much as possible. If we manage to bring the real future to the standards that we want, then we have won. If not, then we have a problem. And the more we distance ourselves from that dream future that we want to have, that utopia that we want to have, the more we will have problems. But to keep it very, very concrete, I believe, that we have the instruments to build the future that we want. Digital, for example, is one of them. Sustainability, circular economy are the other two parts of the triangle. So let's make sure that we build that future by being respectful of other people, also of the interest. Let's not be naive. I mean, businesses will need to continue to do businesses, but of course we need to have healthy people on a healthy planet, and we need, to build those cities around the idea that they need to be cities for the people. Not the people that adapt to the city, but the city that adapts to the needs of the people. That would be my dream.
That's actually, I want to connect with this one quote from Abraham Lincoln, where he said, we need the government of people, for the people, by the people. And this is actually, we need cities by the people, for the people. And we need the nature that's where we are going to coexist with it, but not to damage it even further. But I think that the European Union, as you said, and Europe as a whole continent is doing quite well in this. We're progressively going to this meeting point where you said, but we need the rest of the world to continue going with us in this direction. Have an idea, connect with each other, and that idea will probably grow into something beautiful. Just like a tree, when you plant that small seed, and you find people, which could be like a water or new ground for that seed, that seed will eventually grow out to be a big tree,
Absolutely.
And in no time you will see it bloom.
But look, if you don't start from somewhere, you will not see any result. So of course, like we have done all this journey right now in the past hour where we discussed, what young people can do, what's the power of young people. But then, of course, the big question that everyone has, I've had in my life, my sister has as a younger European than myself is, okay, great, but we can't be all Greta Thunberg. We can't all be the ones that start a fire that will shake the world. And what I respond to her and what I would say to peers like us is, you don't need to be Greta Thunberg to make meaningful change. Because of course, for one person that becomes, publicly engaged, and that is a very big double-edged sword, you don't have the life that you had before. So you have obviously like pros and cons in that life. But my point is, if we do not all start to do our little bit, there is no one person that will succeed. So let's start from somewhere, and starting from somewhere doesn't have to be sitting in front of the European Parliament and chain yourself to a chair, but it can even be, like let's recycle for this week, and let's try this new lifestyle, and let's tell this to my grandmother, which maybe is more aware or maybe is less aware. So let's make sure that also our grandmothers, and you said it very well earlier, Stefan, if each of us manages to change the life for the better of someone else, be it environmentally, be it socially, be it professionally, then we have reached our goal and we have solved every single problem of the world, I would say.
Yeah, and this is actually a really perfect message to wrap our episode with basically the first drop in a bucket of water looks really big. Every next one is probably a little bit smaller, but every single one of those drops contributes to the full bucket. Basically, as you said, we can't all be Greta Thunbergs, but we could all contribute to the same cause just by changing one person or telling our grandmas to start recycling and telling her how awesome it could be. And this is actually a perfect message.
Absolutely, Stefan. So the last message to me is let's get that bucket full and let's all be one drop, but let's get it full.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect message. And thank you. And it has been an honor to talk with you. Like you're such an inspiring young man, and I hope you will be our guest again. And I hope maybe we will do something even greater together. Make a bigger meaningful project. And for the viewers, make sure to follow us on social media. Make sure to follow Alessandro on social media, and make sure to share this podcast. Let's spread this message to a broader public.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Thank you very much to all of you at We Balkans, at YEA, and let's work together, and hopefully we will see each other soon.
Yeah, and now see you in the next episode of the podcast Coffee with YEA.